Good evening. Let us begin with a question that is as gentle as it is uncompromising. Who do you think you are? I do not ask to provoke pride or to expose shame. I ask because identity determines experience, and until identity is seen rightly, the search will not end. The moment you behold your true self, the wandering ceases, the begging ceases, even the bargaining with God ceases. Do you see? You do not stop seeking because you have grown tired. You stop because you have discovered that what you had been seeking was never outside your own being. All the roads of religion, philosophy, and metaphysics meet at that crossroads. I have watched sincere people run from book to book and altar to altar. One man told me he had touched shrines in 3 countries and found no rest. A woman stacked phrases like firewood, beautiful, warming for a moment, yet the winter of fear returned with the first cold wind. What ended their search was not another phrase, not even a better feeling. It was a recognition, I and my Father are one, is not a promise to be fulfilled later. It is an identity statement now. In Him we live and move and have our being. Not will live, but live. Not will have, but have, is present. Here, tonight I will not load you with methods. Words are only auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. There will be one sentence you can test by your life experience, by the fruitage, not by the heat of emotion, not by the avalanche of words, but by the quiet arrival of harmony. If that sentence lived even a little, bears fruitage. If fear loosens, if supply ceases to be a problem, if relationships begin to breathe, then it is truth for you. If not, you are free to lay my words aside. We are not forming a belief system. We are bearing witness to what is. Here is the doorway. God is not merely near you. God appears as you. That is the pivot from seeking to being. This is not arrogance, it is sonship. The invisible life, which the world calls God, clothes itself as individual being. The Father and the Son are not 2 beings with a handshake between them. They are one, life in 2 modalities of appearing. He that hath seen me hath seen the Father, not because the human is divine, but because the divine is the only reality of the human. Do you follow that? Your task is not to become spiritual. Your task is to stop pretending you are something else. Be careful. Do not turn that sentence into a slogan you throw at problems. To say God appears as me with the lips while the heart trembles is to put a fresh coat of paint on the same old fear. The work is to sit down, grow quiet, and consent to this isness, not to manipulate the outer scene, not to plead, not to argue, but to recognize what is eternally so. When the mind wants to gather more phrases, you will have to say to it, hush, let the word become flesh. The word becomes flesh not by repetition, but by realization. A small story. A young father once came to me, thin, tired, carrying the weight of a closed shop and a sick child. He asked for a sentence. I gave him none that day. I only said, I will help you, and said no more, for words would have been an interference. Alone, I turned to the simple recognition, God appearing as individual being, as that man, as that child, not will appear, appears, is. Within days he returned, not with fireworks, but with fruitage. The child sleeping easily, a quiet investor reopening the shop, and a peace in his eyes that had not been there before. He asked, what did you do? I answered, I did not do. I beheld what is. So I ask again, who do you think you are? If you think you are a separated human trying to reach God, the search will go on and on. If you consent to be what you are, God's own appearing as individual being, the search ends and life begins to evidence it. Tonight we will keep our words few and our realization deep. The proof will not be your agreement with me. The proof will be the fruitage that quietly arrives when you stop looking for God and begin recognizing God appearing as you. Do you see? Let us now take the whole of the teaching and place it on two little words, not 10 doctrines, 2 words. If you will live with these, the search ends. If you forget them, the search resumes. The first word is as. The second is. Do you see the simplicity? As speaks to identity, it speaks to realization. Identity is as, demonstration is. As God appearing as individual being. Not God near you, not God inside a human shell, but the invisible showing forth as the visible without division. He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. Is not the human claiming deity? It is the truth that the only reality of you is the Father's own being, showing as your individual expression. The Father and the Son are not two beings with a treaty between them. They are one life in two modalities of appearing. I know this startles the pride of the human, and it offends the shame of the human. Good, let it. Because the human is not asked to rise to heaven, it is asked to yield and let heaven be what it is, appearing as individual being. I and my Father are one, not two making an alliance, one, as now is. We do not create spiritual reality. We awaken to what already is. Be still and know that I am God. Not I will be God when you have enough statements, but I am. Harmony is. Life is. Love is. Supply is. Omnipresence is. You are not trying to pull health out of a reluctant universe any more than you try to make 2 times 2 become 4. You realize it is 4, and in that realization, you stop arguing with arithmetic. All spiritual healing rests here. We are not manipulating shadows. We are recognizing substance. We are not moving pieces on a board. We are coming awake to the board's maker and finding the play already concluded in his piece. If you hold as without is, you will be tempted to strut with a borrowed identity, and your life will not bear fruitage, because identity left unrealized remains theory. If you hold is without as, you will sit repeating God is, while secretly believing you are a separated human trying to reach that God, and again there will be scant fruitage. Identity is as demonstration is. When these two are mated in consciousness, the word becomes flesh. Do you follow that? This is not philosophy for shelves. Test it. When the symptom speaks, do not speak back to the symptom and do not speak at the patient. Go within and consent. God, the invisible, appears as this individual being, as, and then drop every attempt to change or fix and rest. What God is right here, as here. Life is, harmony is, the Christ is present, is. Do you see how no effort is made to persuade the outer picture? It is the difference between pulling at a curtain and simply drawing the blind to let in light. The sun is. You are not creating brightness, you are consenting to isness. Scripture gives you both words in one breath. In him we live and move and have our being. Being identity as, live and move functioning in is. Or hear the ancient name, I am that I am. The name is the grammar of reality. I am identity as, that I am unchanging is. When Moses heard it, he did not get a technique. He received a presence that already was. That is our way. Now measure. If you are living in, as, and is, the fruitage will tell you. Fear will not govern the night. Supply will stop being a topic. Relationships will breathe without your supervision. If not, you may be repeating my words rather than realizing the word that is all right. It only means be still again. Prime the pump if you must consciously know God is manifest as individual being, therefore harmony is the fact of this very spot. Then silence. Let is reveal itself. Let as appear to you as you. Who do you think you are? The question is answered only here, as declares God your very identity. Is proves it by quiet harmonies arriving where strain used to be. Keep your speech few, keep your realization deep. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know whether you have these two words in consciousness or only on your tongue. There is one sentence that the Spirit has given to the ages as an anchor, not a compliment, not a medal pinned on a worthy human, an anchor identity stated before any evidence, before any ministry, before any triumphs or tragedies. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Do you see? It does not read, when you improve, you will be my son, nor, if you keep the rules, I will be pleased. It speaks as identity, and it speaks in isness. This is my beloved Son, well pleased. The whole teaching of as and is heard there without commentary. Take it first inwardly. Beneath the roles that have covered you, parent or child, employer or employee, helper or one in need, beneath the temperaments that have seemed to define you, quick, slow, anxious, bold beneath, even the stories of wounds and glories, there is sonship. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, not shall be now. When you sit quietly and hear the voice, let it address you and not your history. This is my beloved Son, appearing as this individual being in whom I am well pleased. The pleasing is not about your record. It is about the Father beholding his own being. I and my Father are one. When the Father beholds you, he is not grading a student, he is recognizing his appearing. Do you follow that? When I say apply it inwardly, I do not mean say it at yourself as a pep talk. I mean yield to it until it calls you by name. Let it stand in you until the shame that has been your oldest companion begins to find no perch. You will feel the difference. It will not be heat, it will be rest. The striving to become better will thin out. The appetite to justify will lose its taste. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. That is not poetry, that is inventory. It is the Father reading the ledger of your being. Then, turn the same anchor outward. In your relationships, in conflict, in disappointment, do not meet persons and behaviors as if they were causes. Behold identity. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. When the senses report indifference, betrayal, addiction, stubbornness, stop the tongue. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. Stand within and let the anchor sentence be the only speech you consent to. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Not a human made nicer by effort, but God's own being showing itself as this one. You are not excusing conduct. You are refusing to enthrone a masquerade. You are taking the oxygen of attention away from a second power. You are unseeing the mask to behold the face. Someone will say, but there is a real need here. I know. We do not ignore human need. We feed, we clothe, we bandage, we make the call that must be made. But we will not wage private war with shadows. We will not try to repair a person. We will not talk them into truth. Our ministry is to see deeper than need so that the need dissolves without struggle. Light does not plead with darkness. It shines, and darkness is not. Often the only safe words are these: I will help you. Then go within and take your stand on the anchor. This is my beloved Son. Stay there until the heart softens and the inner argument quiets. If you must prime the pump, say softly, God is manifest as individual being. Therefore, this is sonship, and I am well content to behold it. Then be still. You can test this. Take one relationship, and for one day refuse every private rehearsal of wrong. Every time the mind begins the trial, replace it in silence with the anchor sentence. Do not push. Do not force outcomes. Rest in is, behold as. You will see fruitage. Perhaps not fireworks, but a loosening, a breath, a call that was delayed, a word spoken with less heat. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know whether you are beholding or merely wishing. This is my beloved Son is not a line for Jesus alone. It is the voice that names identity wherever God appears, and God appears as individual being. When that is your seeing of yourself, of those nearest, of those hardest to love, healing begins at the root. The battle ends because there never were two. The Father is pleased because the Father is seeing only the Father's own life. And you, consenting to this, will find that relationships begin to breathe without your supervision. Harmony is not manufactured. It is recognized. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Do you see? Now, because we have an anchor, let us correct the mistake that has hurt more homes than open malice. The habit of voicing truth at people, especially at those in pain. It hardens them. It flatters the speaker. It turns living bread into stones. Do you see? I say this to protect you and to protect those you love. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. In the hour of suffering, a phrase like "there are no accidents in divine mind" is a blow, not a bomb. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. That is Scripture, and it is safety. Better to put a hand on a shoulder and say, only I will help you, and then go within. In that going within, your ministry begins. Not in the sentence, not in the performance of piety, but in the realization of is and the beholding of as. The difference is everything. Speaking truth as a weapon is still warfare. Standing in consciousness is peace. The one strains to convince, the other consents to what is. The one makes you center stage, the other renders you transparent to the presence. He shall not strive, nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. That is not cowardice, that is majesty. When you meet need, do the humanly necessary bandage, feed, call, drive, but let your inner posture be this: Father, thou doest the works. Christ liveth my life. This is my beloved Son. Then be still, and know that I am God. Do you follow that? The stillness is the ministry, the knowledge is the medicine. The word, if there is one, comes after, and it will be given you. It is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. Let me tell you of a night when this saved a marriage. A woman came late, crushed and fierce at once. He is done with us, she said. She wanted advice. She wanted ammunition. I would not give it. I said only, I will help you. She resented that. She wanted slogans. But I could not, for words would have been an interference. Alone, I turned from persons and histories to identity. God appearing as individual being, as this man, as this woman, as this union. Not will appear, appears, is. Then I stood with the anchor. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased, beholding each, not their quarrels, not their claims. I refuse the courtroom of memory. I silence the inner lawyer. Presently a quiet came, the kind that does not argue. Within 24 hours she telephoned. No resolutions, no dramatics, just a dinner eaten in peace, an apology, no one rehearsed, and a plan for mourning that had eluded them for weeks. Fruitage, not fireworks, harmony. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Sometimes the softest answer is silence that is full of God. Do you see how safe restraint is? How loving? When you take aim with truth, you create a counter-aim. When you stand in consciousness, you leave no target. You are not trying to make someone understand. You are beholding what is already true of them and of you. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not clever phrasing. It is the sight that looks through. It says, inwardly, God the invisible appears as this one. Therefore I refuse to confer power upon the mask that taunts me. It rests in is, life is present. Love is the only law here. Peace is, and because you are resting in, is your outer words, when they do come, are few, apt, and unheeded. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt. If no words come, you will find that your presence has already spoken. Relationships are the swiftest laboratory you possess. You can measure immediately. If you are standing in consciousness, friction diminishes, timing improves, wisdom comes unannounced. You find yourself pausing before speech and discovering that the pause is the word. You hear yourself say less and help more. Fear, that old prompter, loses its place at your elbow. If, however, you are performing truth at people, you will hear the clatter, defensiveness spikes, old quarrels rehearse themselves, and the room cools while your temperature rises. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know which ministry you are practicing. Start simply. Before you enter a room that has history, stop at the door, not dramatically, but inwardly. Prime the pump, if you must. God is manifest as individual being, therefore I behold sonship here. Then enter in silence. Listen more than you speak. If a cry for help comes, say quietly, I will help you, and let the words end there. Go within, stand in as, rest in is, wait. Thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. The reward is not applause, it is harmony arriving without strain. It is the next right word, or no word at all. It is the end of striving and the beginning of presence. In healing and in love, the work is consciousness. Not clever phrases, not superior tone, consciousness. Keep your speech few, keep your realization deep. Protection lies there for you and for those entrusted to you. And the proof? Less heat, more light. Less fear, more wisdom. By their fruits ye shall know them. Do you see? Let us now take the trouble to the root and pull it up without tearing the garden. The root is always the same, a belief in two powers. That belief, whether it arrives as disease, hatred, lack, or fear, is not a person and not a condition with law. It is mesmerism, impersonal, hypnotic suggestion. You see? The moment you treat it as a person, you give it identity. The moment you treat it as a condition governed by law, you give it permanence. But it is neither. It is the arm of flesh, nothingness, pretending to be something. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, not because we are too refined to wrestle, but because there is nothing there with substance to wrestle. Personalization fails because it enthrones a mask. When you say, he is cruel, you have just carved a graven image and set it up in your temple. When you say, this disease has a name and a timeline, you have just granted it a calendar and a court. You have forgotten is. You have forgotten as. The moment the mind seizes a person or a thing and declares, this is the cause, fear enters. And fear is faith in a second power. Resist not evil. Why? Because there is no evil with entity to resist. Your resistance is an offering placed on an empty altar. Think of the old story. A man walking at dusk sees a snake coiled on the path and leaps back in terror. The heart pounds, the breath shortens, Then the moon shifts and he sees a rope. The fear was obedient, the body sincere, the story plausible, and the whole event was a misperception. The snake never had to be killed, healed, or converted. It had to be unseen. So with the white poodle that never stood at the door, which your friend swore was there. So with the trolley tracks that seemed to meet in the distance. Suggestions, not substances. Appearances, not laws. When the light comes, the suggestion is disobeyed because it never had authority. Do you follow that? Carry this into your next conflict. A man at your office comes at you with old fury. Everything in you wants to mount a defense to match person with person, argument with argument. Stop. Give not a thought to the person or the condition. Drop it. Go within and behold identity. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. God appearing as individual being. Then rest in is, peace is present here, love is law here. Harmony is the fact of this place. If the inner lawyer rises to object, recognize it as hypnotic suggestion, nothing with mind, law, or personhood. Let it pass as you would a gust at the window. You will see fruitage. The heat abates. The sentence you would have said is not needed. Or, if a word is given, it is simple, apt, and unheated. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Often, the soft answer is the absence of argument born of impersonal seeing. When illness announces itself with a name that intimidates, do the humanly necessary, call the doctor, keep the appointment, but do not surrender your altar to a second power. The name is a suggestion that wants a throne. Deny it the coronation. Go within. Prime the pump if you must. There are not two powers. God is the life of this being. Therefore, life is, harmony is, wholeness is. Then be still. In the silence, see if there is any entity besides God to fear or to fight. You will find only the arm of flesh, no person, no law, no substance, and you will feel the fear begin to starve for lack of your belief that starvation is healing. Scripture guards this stance at every gate. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Weapons formed, appearances, suggestions, beliefs in two powers. Prosper, they cannot, because they do not partake of is. Only what God is can endure, and God is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Oneness is not poetry. It is the only atmosphere in which sonship breathes. The instant you behold the beloved Son, the enemy becomes a mere suggestion. The struggle dissolves because it has lost its opponent. Some will say, but you do not know what they did. I know this voice. It is old. It speaks for justice and for pain, and it wants a person to carry the weight. In the human scene, we may still need to sign papers, to set boundaries, to protect the vulnerable, do what wisdom requires. But do not enthrone a second power in your heart. Do not make an idol of wrongdoing. To hold a person as cause is to anchor yourself to the rope as if it were a snake. Release it. Behold identity. Let the hypnotism exhaust itself for lack of your attention. Get thee behind me, Satan. That is not hatred, it is depersonalization. It refuses to speak to a lie as if it were a person. This, too, is measurable. When you impersonalize error, you will not feel heroic. You will feel relieved. Your pulse slows. Your words grow fewer. The room warms. A call comes that breaks the stalemate. A symptom slackens. A memory loses its sting. Fruitage, not an emotional jag, not a thunderclap, quiet harmonies arriving without strain. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know that the suggestion has been unseen and the sun revealed. Make this your rule. On any call for help, give not a thought to the person or the condition. Name it hypnotism, a belief in two powers, without law, without mind, without personhood. Then stand in as God, appearing as this very one. Rest in His love is, life is, peace is. Wait. The unreal cannot endure your refusal to believe it, and the real does not need your help to be real. Do you see? The moment the problem is impersonalized, it loses its authority because it never had any. Let us now put a hand to the plow. This is a practice lab, not a recital. One sentence, quiet, interior, and immediately testable. Before any conversation, especially a difficult one, pause inwardly and acknowledge, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Not spoken aloud, not used as leverage, but held as recognition. You are not addressing a personality. You are consenting to identity. As God appearing as individual being is harmony already established. Your task is consent, not construction. Be still and know that I am God. Do you see? Make 3 thresholds, your altar when the phone rings, when your hand touches a doorknob, when your finger hovers over, send. At each threshold, give a breath to sonship. This is my beloved Son. Then rest in is, peace is, love is, wisdom is. You are not trying to repair the scene. You are recognizing the invisible fact behind the visible scene. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment sees through. Do it without strain. If the mind hurries to embellish the sentence, let it pass. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. One sentence is sufficient because it carries as and is in its very grammar. This is beloved Son, well pleased. The voice that spoke at Jordan did not negotiate with behavior. It named identity. You are letting that voice set the tone of the meeting before any human voices arrive. Understand what is occurring. When you behold sonship, you remove your attention from a second power. You refuse the courtroom of memory, its jurors and clerks. Error, which is only hypnotic suggestion, starves for lack of your belief. In that quiet fasting, new conditions appear, not because you forced them, but because the real was permitted to be real. Thy Father, which seeth in secret, shall reward thee openly. The reward is fruitage. What will fruitage look like? Softer reactions, first in you, then in the room. A compulsion to fix begins to lose its voltage. Timing improves. A call that would have exploded is delayed 10 minutes and arrives gentler. An unexpected cooperation takes the place of a rehearsed quarrel. Spontaneous right action appears, and you witness yourself saying little, but saying the one apt word that carries peace. It shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Sometimes it is given as silence, sometimes as a nod that ends the war. Test it today. Choose the most ordinary exchange, the cashier, the child at homework, the colleague who always types too many words. Before you step in, acknowledge, this is my beloved Son. Then within rest, harmony is. You will feel the breath lengthen. The body, which has been a willing accomplice to fear, loosens its fists. Your eyes soften. A sentence you were sure you had to speak is discovered unnecessary. Or a firmness is given you that carries no heat. Fruitage. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know whether you are beholding identity or arguing with shadows. A small story. A man told me he had to face a supervisor who had humiliated him in front of a team. He wanted strategy. I would not give strategy. I said, only I will help you. Alone, I stood in as and is for them both. He, on his way to the meeting, placed a hand on the conference room handle and inwardly heard, this is my beloved Son. He entered, not armored, but quiet. The supervisor surprised himself by beginning with, I was sharp yesterday, I'm correcting that. They finished in 12 minutes what had stretched over 3 weeks. No performance, no speeches, fruitage. A soft answer turneth away wrath, and often the soft answer is the sight behind the eye. Do you see how gentle this is and how demanding? Gentle because it asks for no outer theater. Demanding because it refuses you the luxury of a second power. If the inner argument rises, but you do not know what they did, let that be met as suggestion, without mind, without law, without personhood. Drop it. Return to the sentence, "This is my beloved Son." Then rest in his, wait, consent, let Spirit live the moment. In him we live and move and have our being. Make this your 2-4-hour experiment. Every threshold, one sentence, as God appearing as this very one. Is harmony already the fact? Stand there briefly, honestly, without heat. The result will not be a performance. It will be a lessening of strain and an increase of rightness. And when it appears, do not congratulate yourself. Give thanks. The word has gone before you, and you are walking where it is already so. If you can behold the beloved Son even briefly, the relationship begins to bear new fruit without force. Keep your speech few, keep your realization deep. By their fruits ye shall know them. Do you follow that? Now the old prosecutor rises in the mind with exhibits and testimony, but you don't know what they did. Memory parades its film. The ledger opens to the page where the wrong is itemized. Moral outrage insists that to behold Christ is to excuse the inexcusable. Do you see? This is resistance, not wisdom. It wears the cloak of realism, but it is only the hypnotic suggestion asking you to keep a second power enthroned evil as person, as cause, as law. The evidence may be accurate at the level of appearances. We are not arguing the photograph. We are denying it the right to define identity or to legislate the future. Understand me clearly. Recognizing Christ's identity does not excuse conduct. It removes the lie that conduct creates identity. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is not sentiment. That is depersonalization. It identifies the act as ignorance, mesmerism, rather than a self-existent evil person. You may still take the human steps wisdom requires, sign the papers, set the boundary, call the authorities, if safety demands it, but in your heart, refuse to manufacture a second power. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Good is not a moral pose. Good is. Harmony is. Love is. Law is one. When you rest in is and behold as you pull the plug on the masquerade's power source, your belief, let us state it in the plainest if-then. If you hold a person as the problem, you will meet the same problem in new forms, new faces, repeating the pattern, new circumstances, rehearsing the pain, because your belief in a second power has seeded the field for its own echo. If you see hypnotism impersonal suggestion without mind, law, or personhood, it can dissolve, and you will be free to meet this person or the next without the old sentence already passed. Do you follow that? The issue is not the event. It is your attribution of causation. Once you give cause to God alone, the river of repetition dries up. Forgiveness then becomes practical, not a sentimental waving away of harm, not a pious stiffness. Practical because forgiveness is the refusal to grant reality to the masquerade. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. That as is the law of your experience. As you depersonalize and release the claim to person as cause, so does the pressure that has seemed to grip you fall away. The heart, which had turned itself into a courtroom, finds the judge has no case to try. You are not pretending the rope was not mistaken for a snake. You are acknowledging that the snake never was. The fear drains because the object of fear is discovered baseless. A man came to me once, furious over a betrayal in business. He could recite every date, every clause. He wanted a blessing on vengeance. I would not give it. I said, only I will help you. Then, in silence, I refused the person as cause and stood in as and is, God appearing as individual being. Justice is, integrity is, abundance is. He took the human steps his attorney advised. That was right. But in his heart he yielded the idol. Within weeks a clean settlement appeared, and more to the point, the next partnership arose on trust that did not tremble. Fruitage, not because we excused wrongdoing, but because we refused to enthrone it. You may say, but the wound is deep. I know. The deeper the wound, the more costly the belief in two powers has been. Lay it down. Turn from their face to his face. Prime the pump if you must. This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Then drop the brief, let the inner lawyer grow quiet. Charity thinketh no evil. That does not mean it denies the report. It refuses to confer reality upon the mask. In that refusal, the heat goes out. The same facts can now be handled sanely, safely, and often mercifully. To behold Christ is not naivete, it is sobriety. It is the only way to stop conferring reality upon the masquerade. If you insist on a person to blame, you will have to keep finding persons. If you consent to oneness, you will find that wrong loses its chemistry in you, and where chemistry fails, contact dissolves. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Not free to forget, but free to see. And seeing rightly, you will act rightly without heat, without hatred, and with a peace that does not perform. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know that the argument has been answered and the sun revealed. You see? Having laid down the case against a second power, we can speak now of method, because goodwill without method is strain, and strain has no place in God. There are two movements, and each is holy in its hour. First, the letter, you consciously know the truth. You prime the pump. Second, the spirit. Truth is imparted from within. It announces itself without your arranging. Do you follow that? In the first, you take the initiative. In the second, you are taken up. The shift is not dramatic to the eye, but you will know it by your life experience, by the fruitage. Begin with a letter. Upon waking before the mind collects its props, acknowledge quietly. God is manifest as individual being. I and the Father are one. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. You are not pleading. You are recognizing. You are not trying to make 2 times 2 4. You are consenting that it is 4. Before meals, pause. Not to beg for supply, but to acknowledge. Life is, abundance is, grace is the bread and the breath. When money appears, a paycheck, a bill, a coin, let the same recognition go before the thought of figures. Supply is the nature of God. Therefore, supply is here as sufficiency, as order, as right activity. When news appears, reports, headlines, rumors, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Return to as and is, as God the invisible, appearing as the visible, is harmony already present, unprovoked, self-maintained. In the letter stage, you sprinkle the day with these recognitions like seeds in every furrow. When the phone rings, pause. When the door handle turns, pause. When send hovers, pause. Prime the pump, if you must, with the one sentence that contains all. This is my beloved Son. Then add nothing. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. Outwardly say little, if anything, only, I will help you, and inwardly rest. Father, thou doest the works. Do this 100 times a day without strain, just as you breathe. The letter, faithfully practiced, clears the field. Now the spirit. As the mind grows accustomed to being uncentered from itself, a new activity takes over, and it is not your doing. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. This is not a poetic feeling. It is a literal governance. Your major activity becomes receptivity. After the priming, you grow still. Be still and know that I am God. You listen not to syllables in the ear, but to a quiet impartation that has authority. The still small voice that stood Elijah on his feet has no volume, and yet it carries command. In that listening, you will find that you speak less, react less, and yet help more. Guidance replaces willpower. It shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Sometimes it is given as a sentence, often as silence that ends the argument before it begins. Tie this to your relationships and watch the measurement appear. A child flings a complaint across the table. Formerly you would have met it with policy or temper. Now the pump is primed. This is my beloved son. And then you listen. The answer that comes is clean. A nod, a question, a boundary stated without heat, or no response at all because none is needed. A colleague presses. Formerly you would have handled it. Now you discover the meeting takes 12 minutes because you did not bring your machinery fruitage. Less friction, more rightness, not a glow in the chest, not an emotional jag, but tangible harmony arriving without strain. Let the method be simple. Prime, then drop it. Listen. If the mind hurries to decorate the silence, return for a breath to the anchor sentence, then be still again. Do not chase voices. Watch for the peaceful certainty that bears no opposite. If nothing comes, do nothing. If a word is given, it will be apt and unheeded. If an action is given, it will carry ease in the very doing. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. This is how you know spirit has taken the rein. Make a brief rule of life. On waking, at meals, at money, at newsletter, at contact listening, in every call for help, outwardly I will help you, inwardly, Father, thou doest the works, and then silence. The result is a life increasingly lived by another, which is to say, by your own true identity. You will find yourself saying afterwards, I could not have planned that, and yet it was exactly right. The reason is simple. Christ liveth my life. And because Christ lives it, it bears fruit. By their fruits ye shall know them. You see? Now we come to the only honest test. Not your sensations, not a glow, not a fine sentence that leaves the room unchanged. Fruitage. By their fruits ye shall know them. Do you see? The infinite is not proved by talk. It is proved by life, by the ease with which trouble loses its standing, by the readiness with which relationships soften, by the practicality that begins to appear in place of strain. If the presence you acknowledge as is truly realized, something must yield in the scene quickly, quietly, measurably. Let us state it plainly in if and then. If your problems are being quickly and easily solved, if what once took weeks now resolves in hours, if what once required 3 calls now concludes in one brief, unheeded word, then you are touching realization. The Spirit is doing the work, and you are consenting. If, on the other hand, the same difficulties circle back with new costumes, if discussions bloom into old arguments by Tuesday, if fear retains its voltage and generosity drains you, then you may be riding an emotional jag. Words have warmed you. Realization has not yet taken root. Do you follow that? This is not condemnation, it is guidance. Faith without works is dead. Works here are fruitage, tangible harmony. What will you look for? Look where you live, calmer homes, fewer recurring quarrels. The same topic arises, but it does not fasten. Quicker reconciliation, not a sweep under the rug, but a clean meeting with no aftertaste. Reduced fear, the body's alarms do not command the room, and when they flare, they pass like a summer gust. More generosity without depletion, giving that does not leave a bruise on the ledger because it flows from is, not from heroics. In business, shortened meetings, clearer agreements, fewer errors that require apology. In health, symptoms that once advertised themselves for days lose their campaign in hours, and the mind ceases to make a drama of them. In supply, a rightness of timing. The bill meets the provision without your choreography. The windows of heaven open as order, not lottery. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts. Prove, not argue, not hope, prove. The atmosphere itself bears witness. The rooms you enter need fewer words. Your family learns, without being told, that something steady is living the life. Do not measure by spectacular events. The world loves fireworks. Spirit prefers dawn. The peace that passeth all understanding becomes the weather of the house. Do you see? If the temperature is persistently high, always haste, always edge, go back to as and is, prime the pump, then listen. If nothing is given, do nothing. Let harmony announce itself by less effort, not by more talking. Make a simple, kind audit. Morning and evening, without drama, ask, what fruitage appeared today? Where was there less strain, less repetition, more rightness? Note it not to boast, not to frighten yourself, but to see with clarity the line of progress. If the ledger shows little change, take courage. This is correction, not rebuke. The answer is not to double your speech, it is to deepen your consent. Return to the anchor. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Live one day more deliberately in, as, and is. Reduce the outer theater. Increase the listening. You will find the needle moving. And if you are tempted to accept feelings in place of fruit, remember, emotion can mimic inspiration. It can lift and leave. Realization abides and produces. If your uplift does not translate into gentler conduct, fewer explanations, cleaner outcomes, then call it what it is, an emotional jag, and be grateful to see it. Seeing it is freedom. You are not being punished. You are being trained to discern the difference between the letter on the lips and the spirit in the life. This way is practical. Heaven touches earth, or it has not touched you. When, as is known, God appearing as individual being and is rested in truth already present, life arranges itself according to its own order. The proof is not inside your chest, it is in the day. Problems shorten. Love hardens into kindness and loosens into mercy. Decisions appear with the weight of rightness, and burdens lighten on the shoulder. Then you may say with sobriety, not with heat, the Father within doeth the works. And because the Father within does them, they endure. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know. Do you see? Fruitage does not begin in effort, it begins in sight. Not the sight of eyes, but the beholding back of the eye. Let me define a word we must use carefully: unseeing. Unseeing does not deny the report of sense. It refuses to take that report as identity, whether the report flatters or frightens. Do you see? If you accept human good as identity, you will fear its loss. If you accept human evil as identity, you will bow to its threat. In both cases, you enthrone a second power. Man looketh on the outward appearance. but the Lord looketh on the heart. We are training the look. How do we unsee? By a contemplative turn, so slight the room may never notice it, and yet so complete it changes the weather of the moment. You pause, and you let the eyes be what they are, lenses, and then you attend to the seer. You look back of the eye to the invisible, that is the cause of what appears, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things seen are temporal, but the things not seen are eternal. In that turn, you are not judging the picture. You are relinquishing its right to name what it shows. The image may be charming or crude. It is still the arm of flesh appearance without causation. Identity abides behind it. As God appearing as individual being is harmony already the fact. Apply this first to yourself. You are not your best day, the applause, the clean ledger, the praise. If you make that your identity, you must hustle tomorrow to preserve it. Nor are you your worst day, the failure, the sharp word, the bill unpaid. If you make that your identity, you will condemn tomorrow before it dawns. Unsee both. Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is, God. Do you follow that? When you consent to be the place where God appears, you step off the seesaw. Your testimony becomes steady. I live, yet not I, Christ liveth my life. Then the successes lose their vanity and the failures lose their verdict. What remains is identity, and identity works. Now apply it to others. Stop oscillating between idolizing and resenting. The office star who dazzles today and disappoints tomorrow is neither your savior nor your enemy. The difficult relative is not a fixed problem person any more than the affectionate season was a fixed goodness. Unsee both. Behold back of the eye. This is my beloved Son, God the invisible, appearing as this visible one. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. A single eye does not argue with details. It refuses two powers. It refrains from making a shrine to human charm or a prison of human fault. It sees source. A small incident may help. A mother came distressed by a child's wild swing, top marks and sweetness one week, defiance the next. She wanted a strategy for holding him to his good self. I would not give it. I said, only I will help you. Then, in silence, I unseated both pictures, good boy and bad boy, as identity, and rested in as and is. Sonship is the fact. Stability is. Wisdom is. She began a quiet practice. Each time she looked at him, she looked back of the eye and inwardly acknowledged, this is my beloved Son. Without speeches, without program, the home's climate shifted. The highs softened, the lows shortened, and a steadiness appeared that neither mother nor child could manufacture. Fruitage not from managing behavior, but from beholding identity. Remember the old lesson, the snake and the rope? To stand and argue with the snake is to honor it. To see rope is to end the drama. In the same way, to contend with human evil as identity is to breathe life into it. To worship human good as identity is to stand in fear of its eclipse. Drop both. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, not as contempt for humanity, but as a yielding of causation to God alone. Then, as you go about your ordinary meeting of faces, let this single movement be your secret. Look back of the eye. Judge not according to the appearance. Identity is where healing and harmony originate, and identity is never in flux. When you behold there, words will be few, reactions gentle, and the improvisations of spirit surprisingly apt. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know that unseeing has opened the way for the real to be real. Do you see? When the call for help comes, keep your hands off the machinery. Do not analyze the person. Do not fear the condition. Do not argue with the picture. Outwardly, say only, I will help you. Then, inwardly, retire to the closet of awareness. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet and shut thy door, and there, without drama, recognize as and is until fear yields, as God appearing as individual being. Is harmony already the fact? You are not trying to make something true, you are consenting to what is. Be still and know that I am God. Do you see? I am giving you a stance, not a speech. The call arrives, tears, symptoms, confusion, accusation, outwardly, little. I will help you. Inwardly, immediacy. Give not a thought to the person or the condition. Drop it. Identify the claim correctly as hypnotic suggestion, a universal belief in two powers, the arm of flesh without substance, mind, or law. The suggestion is never attached to an individual. It parades in borrowed names. Do you follow that? If you attach it to a person, you will wrestle a phantom and bruise the very relationship you are asked to bless. If, instead, you behold identity, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased and rest in, is the charge goes out of the appearance. He sent his word and healed them. The word goes forth as realization, not as talk. Wait there until the inner weather changes. Do not rush to minister with sentences while fear still hums in the nerves. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. The real ministry is presence, and presence ripens in silence. When the click is felt, sometimes as a loosening in the breath, sometimes as a quiet joy, sometimes as a simple absence of pressure, then, if any word is required, it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Often it will be given as nothing at all, and the situation will resolve without your verbal signature. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. This protects your relationships. How? Because you cease to be a dispenser of advice, those little pills of wisdom that so often stick in the throat. You become a presence of peace. People feel it. They do not feel managed. The one who called in panic does not remember your counsel because you offered none. But later, she reports, it quieted, and I could think again. Another brings a grievance and finds himself speaking more kindly than he planned. A family braced for a quarrel meets a gentler hour. You have not argued anyone into truth. You have stood still in truth until the claim lost its borrowed voice. Peace, be still. The sea listens when peace speaks, and peace speaks best in the hush. A small instance. Late at night, a mother texted. A child was in fever, frightened and gasping. She added her remedies and asked what more to try. I would not add a program. I sent only, I will help you. Then I turned within, released mother and child as person in distress, and stood in as and is. Life is, wholeness is, sonship is the fact. No second power, no opposing law. The tension in my own body released first. Then the room became very still. 10 minutes later, another message. He's sleeping. Fruitage. By your life experience, by the fruitage, not because I found the right sentence, but because I refused the hypnotism and let the word go before me. Resist the professional impulse to diagnose, to fix, to collect stories. The mind will itch to know more particulars. Particulars are the rope snake's pattern. To argue it is to honor it. Drop it. This is not indifference. It is obedience to one cause. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. If human steps are to be taken, they will be given cleanly and without heat. If boundary or medicine or phone call is right, it will arise as part of the same peace, not as a compete with fear. Make it your quiet rule. In any call for help, Outwardly, I will help you. Inwardly, Father, thou doest the works. Then drop the person, drop the condition, drop the urge to counsel, and stand in as and is until the suggestion thins and the presence asserts itself. Help is not talking someone into truth. Help is silently knowing the truth until the claim loses its seeming reality. When the pressure subsides and harmony shows its face, give thanks and go on. Keep your ministry calm and minimal. Let your speech be yea, yea, nay, nay, and let your proof be the peace you leave behind. Do you see? We began with a question that would not let you remain as you were. Who do you think you are? The search ends only when the answer is not recited, but lived. Not a polished self-image, not a defensive creed. Lived. I and my Father are one. I live. Yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. You see, the point is not to decorate the human with noble phrases. It is to yield the human costume to the actual God appearing as individual being. When this is the standing awareness, the looking ceases, the hunting ceases, and recognition begins. You stop seeking God as if absent and consent to God as the one present, the one living your life. If you ask for one sentence to carry you across the day, you already know it. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Apply it without exception and without noise. To yourself in the mirror, this is my beloved Son, not a struggler assembling worth. To your partner at breakfast, beloved Son, whatever the mood. To your child, whether gleeful or sullen, beloved Son, not a case to manage. To your enemy, especially there, beloved Son, identity untouched by the mask. To the stranger, the clerk, the driver in the next lane, beloved Son. The sentence is not a charm. It is a lens. It moves your eye from the photograph to the cause back of the eye. It keeps you in as God appearing as and seats you in is what already is. Then your conduct, your speech, your silences will conform without strain. Make no romance of this. This is not a lazy person's work. This is many small faithfulnesses. At waking, before the tongue assembles complaints, at the door before you meet the next face, at the cash register, before you answer the message that pricks your pride, when the body taps its barometer, when headlines rattle the cage, enter into thy closet and shut thy door, shut it 100 times in a day if need be. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. One sentence, if any, then listening. A single eye. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Do you follow that? 10,000 little obediences drop a reaction. Refuse a second power. Behold identity. Add up to a state of consciousness that heals because it does not argue. It knows. And do not take my word for it. Prove it. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts. You can test it in the next 10 minutes of your life. Prime the pump if you must. This is my beloved Son, then be still and let the Spirit assume its own office. Watch for fruitage, not fireworks order, not thrills, peace. Rooms that require fewer words, quicker reuniting, fears that discharge before they script the day. Work that finds its right time and right people without your hunting. By their fruits ye shall know them. If the same quarrels keep their calendar, if the pressure does not thin, go back not to more sentences, but to truer consent. Unsee the mask, stand again in as and is. The proof will appear in the scene, or the burden will lift from your chest. Both are fruitage. So we close the circle where we opened it, and we close it without noise. Who do you think you are? Do not answer with speeches. Stand still and live the answer until the witnesses change their testimony. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Let that be your atmosphere. Reduce the outer theater. Keep your ministry minimal. I will help you, and your inward knowing steady, Father. Thou doest the works. Then drop the person, drop the condition, and let the presence declare itself. The search ends when you stop looking for what is and begin consenting to what is God appearing as you. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know. Thank you.